Not welcome here, a story of dignity and perspective. The words hung in the air like smoke from a fire no one wanted to admit was burning. Not welcome here. They weren't shouted or screamed. They didn't need to be. The way the hotel manager stared down at Mary and said everything those 3 words didn't. Her simple gray sweatshirt and baseball cap were a stark contrast to the gilded marble around her, but she stood tall anyway. Her back straightened with resolve. She hadn't come to make a scene. But that wasn't going to stop one from finding her. Outside, the afternoon sun filtered through the iron gates of the Grand Meridian Hotel. Inside, crystal chandeliers bathed the lobby in golden light, reflecting off polished marble floors and casting tiny rainbows along the edges of designer shoes and high society heels. It was the kind of place where whispered names turned heads, where a silk pocket square carried as much weight as a resume. Marian Lawrence stepped carefully through the revolving doors, brushing a loose strand of hair from her cheek as the air conditioning kissed her flushed face. At 43, she moved with the unassuming grace of a woman who had learned long ago that confidence was quieter than ego. She wore a comfortable gray sweatshirt, jeans, and sneakers still dusted with flour from the morning's food drive at the community center. A canvas tote rested on her shoulder, its strap cutting into her skin, but unnoticed, her muscles too used to strain to bother complaining. She looked nothing like the crowd around her. And that was precisely the problem. Heads turned, brows lifted. Even the chandeliers, if they had eyes, might have paused to look. The Grand Meridian didn't turn people away with slurs or slaps. It used politeness like a blade, sharp, quiet, and meant to draw blood without leaving a visible wound. Marianne approached the concierge desk. "I'm here to meet my husband," she said with a gentle smile. "He's arriving for the Global Reform Conference." The woman behind the counter blinked, her smile tight. "And his name, ma'am?" "Frank." But before she could finish, another voice sliced through the ambient hum. "Excuse me," said a man with perfectly combed silver-streaked hair, his suit pressed so sharply it might have cut glass. The name tag on his lapel read Elliot Winchester, hotel manager. His smile was professional. His eyes were not. "May I help you?" he asked Marianne, his tone warm but sterile. Polished. She repeated her reason for being there. "My husband's checking in for the conference." Elliot tilted his head slightly, considering her like one might examine a wine stain on white linen. "I see. And does your husband have a reservation with us?" "Yes." "I see," he said again, lips pursed as if chewing something bitter. "Perhaps I can direct you to a more appropriate waiting area. There's a lovely cafe across the street." "I'm fine here, thank you," Marianne replied. His tone sharpened, ever so slightly. "Ma'am, the Grand Meridian has standards we must uphold. We're hosting dignitaries today. I'm sure you understand." Marianne met his gaze. "Perfectly. I must insist," he said, voice now edged with the entitlement of someone unused to resistance. "This is not a public space." Marianne's neck stiffened. "I'm staying right here. My husband asked me to meet him in the lobby." Elliot's facade slipped. "Look, I don't know what you're trying to pull here, but this isn't going to work. We have protocols." "I'm not pulling anything," she said evenly. "Then I'm asking you for proof of reservation." "Or what?" "Or I will call security." Around them, the luxurious hum of hotel life had slowed. Staff whispered. Guests pretended to check their phones, but watched with sidelong glances. An older woman behind the counter, a kind-looking employee with years in her eyes, shifted, as if to intervene, but hesitated at Elliot's glare. Marian exhaled. "Mr. Winchester, you're making a mistake." Elliot reached for his radio. "Security to the lobby, please." A large man in a tailored black uniform approached. He looked uncomfortable. "Sir, escort this woman out." "Sir, are you sure?" "Now." Marianne stood her ground. "You're judging me based on my appearance." "I'm enforcing standards," he snapped. "You can't just walk into a place like this looking for, well." "Looking for what, exactly?" He didn't answer. He didn't have to. The security guard touched her elbow lightly. "Ma'am, I'm going to have to ask you to come with me." "Don't touch me," she said, calm but firm. "I'll walk myself out." She took one step toward the door, and that was when the double doors of the Grand Meridian swung open like the parting of the Red Sea. Franklin Lawrence stepped in. The entire lobby stilled. Tall. Composed. A name people knew. Not because he demanded it, but because he earned ithro policy, through presence, through the kind of voice that made even those who disagreed with him lean in to listen. Franklin spotted his wife instantly. He crossed the lobby in deliberate steps, his security detail flanking him at a respectful distance. He took Marianne's hand. "I'm sorry I'm late," he said. "Are you okay?" Elliot stared, mouth slightly open. A slow realization dawned like storm clouds creeping in from the edges of his perfect sky. "I didn't know," he stammered. Franklin looked at him. "Didn't know what?" "That she was I didn't realize." "So if she weren't my wife, this treatment would be acceptable?" "No, of course not. But it happened anyway." The general manager, now appearing from thin air, cleared his throat. "Mr. Lawrence, on behalf of the Grand Meridian, please accept our apologies. There has clearly been a misunderstanding." Marianne, serene as a pond in winter, added, "Not much misunderstanding about it." Franklin turned to the staff. "My suite." "Ready and waiting," the general manager said. "Presidential." As they moved toward the elevators, Marianne cast one glance back at Elliot. His face was pale. His hands trembled slightly at his sides. Upstairs, Marianne changed into a simple black dress as Franklin loosened his tie. "You should have called me," he said. "To say what?" she replied. "That your wife got kicked out of a hotel lobby for wearing a sweatshirt?" A knock interrupted them. It was Marcus Bennett, the general manager, full of regret and profuse apologies. "Mr. and Mrs. Lawrence were deeply sorry. Mr. Winchester has been suspended pending review." Marianne tilted her head. "Is that necessary?" Franklin blinked. "You want to keep him?" She shook her head. "Not keep. Teach." The next morning, Elliot Winchester reported not to the Grand Meridian, but to a red-bricked building in a forgotten part of town. The community center. Marianne was there, clipboard in hand, apron dusted with flour. "Welcome," she said. His cheeks burned. "Mrs. Lawrence." "Marianne," she corrected. "Let's get to work." Over the next 4 weeks, Elliot scrubbed tables, unloaded food crates, portioned meals. He learned the names of volunteers, asked about their families, memorized the way a child's face lit up at a full plate. At night, he still ran the Grand Meridian, but with new eyes. When the community center's fundraiser arrived, Elliot was front and center, greeting guests, organizing logistics, ensuring volunteers sat beside donors. There were no special tables, no velvet ropes. Franklin gave a speech. "We measure dignity not by how we treat the powerful, but by how we treat the quiet, the overlooked, the underestimated." Marianne smiled beside him. In the back, Elliot stood tall. And when his eyes met Marianne's, he didn't flinch. He nodded. Not an apology. An understanding.